Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Bryndís, and today I'm doing the Are TBRs fun or not tag. So this tag was created by Candy at the Great Literary Rabbit Hole. I love that name, by the way. And I was tagged by Debs at Rainer Reads Stuff. And there are, I think, 12 prompts. So let's just dive straight into them. Number 1, how many books are currently or normally on your TBR? So normally I put 10 books on my TBR or pile of possibility, which whatever I call it. I feel that on average, I would say that I read 10 books a month. So putting 10 books on my TBR is just kind of, pretty normal. I think in total, I'm not 100% sure of how many unread books I have, but they are over 100 for sure, but below 200. So somewhere there in between. I am planning to do a declutter, unhaul, revamp of my bookshelves in the next weeks. So then I'm gonna count exactly how many unread books I have. But for my monthly TBRs, which is something that I've done on this channel, I did it all of last year. I haven't done like a fixed TBR, although I don't know. I do a pile of possibility this year, but I feel that there's no difference for me and for my brain between a pile of possibility or a TBR. So I've been putting about 10 books on there, except for the last couple of months where I have not. But in general, for the last several years, I would say that putting about 10 books on my TBR a month has been working very well. Number 2, how do you choose TBR books, and have you ever gamified your TBR? For example, prompt jars, TBR games, or something like that. I do have a TBR jar, or a couple of them, where I have like a jar for my classics and a jar for my non-classics, basically. And I have used those jars quite a lot, but I don't have prompts in the jars. I just have the titles of the books. I haven't been doing that lately, just to kind of give myself a little bit of a break this year, but I really like that. I actually really would like to try to do like a prompt TBR jar. I think that could be really fun. And so I have that in mind for whenever I kind of have the capability to think a little bit about that. I definitely want to do that. I love watching people's TBR games, and some of them are like so intricate and like, whoa. But yeah, I like having that TBR jar, but at the same time, it's not like the holy grail or like, set in stone. If I don't feel like reading the book that I choose from the TBR jar, I'm just not gonna read it. But it's still kind of, it keeps there. This means that there's some kind of excitement, I suppose, in choosing the books that I read. But I also just choose books like for whatever. Which kind of connects to prompt number 3. Do you have reading areas of focus to choose books for? And if yes, how many? I'm not sure if I understand this question, but obviously I do take part in some reading events, which I'm assuming is like a reading area of focus. So if I take part in like Jane Austen July or Victober or People April or something, I will read a book from that area of focus for sure, or I will at least attempt to. I also usually split my books into classics and non-classics, and then fantasy. So I try to read, I want to also read some of my non-classics. I'm definitely more drawn to classics than contemporary literature, but I do kind of make myself read, or make myself. That sounds like I don't want to. I do want to read them, but I don't know. My brain works like this, and so I like to make sure that I choose books each month, both from my classics and from my non-classics, which are kind of, I suppose, areas of focus. Yeah. But I also like doing projects. Last year I had the project of reading all of the Bronte sisters. There's 7 novels. I had a Halldór Laxness project. I read 12 of his books. And, read Tolkien. I like having those type of projects and read within a specific focus, but I also like to read wide. So it's kind of both, I suppose. I have a reading focus sometimes, and sometimes I don't. Prompt number 4, does a TBR help you focus? Yes, it definitely does help me to make sure that I at least am thinking about reading the non-classics. And it also helps me to focus if I really want to take part in a reading event and I choose a few books for that. It helps me to kind of stay on track with that, because I do get a lot of joy out of listening to other people talking about what they read. If maybe they were reading the same book or something else for that reading event. Can sometimes read comments on like Goodreads or whatever. So I like having some focus to my TBR, to my reading for sure, and I find that a TBR helps me do that. Prompt number 5. Do you suffer from the book noise of a TBR? I would say generally not, because I don't take it that seriously that I have to read the books, or that when I'm reading a book, I'm constantly thinking about the next book on my TBR. Unless the next book is just so interesting to me and the current book is maybe just okay. But generally, I don't think that I suffer from book noise. I love that, book noise. I have experienced it for sure, but I try to think of my TBR like a pile of possibilities, like I said. So it's not like it doesn't matter if I put something on my March TBR and I don't read it until April or August. It doesn't really matter as long as I read the book that I obviously want to read. But no, in general, I don't think I do that. But I'm sure I have experienced it for sure. Number 6, do you give your TBR a time limit, and does a TBR make you stress about reading quick enough? No, I read quite fast, both physically and an audiobook, because I just read so much. I don't really watch TV or like anything like that, or movies. I very, very rarely watch stuff like that. I do take like periods where I will binge watch a series or binge watch some movies, but the only thing I really watch is YouTube. So, and mostly what I watch on YouTube is BookTube. So books are like just my life, really. So I don't feel that I'm stressed because I can't read something, because I know I will be able to read it in the next few months anyway, because I read so much. So it's not a problem for me. I do have a monthly TBR, or a pile of possibilities. Sometimes I will, if I can't get to a book in a month, I will take it with me to the next month. Sometimes I will just put it back on my shelves and get to it later on, because it kind of depends on, sometimes I just lose interest in the book or realize that I just want to read something else. So I do have a very loose time frame for sure, but nothing about the TBR really makes me stressed, because it's just for fun, really. Number 7, do you have rebellion syndrome? Not wanting to read a book because you put it on your TBR and now you feel you have to read it. I have experienced that for sure. This is mostly if there are books kind of out of my comfort zone, or books that are going to be more serious. like serious literature that I just maybe I'm not in the mood for, but I want to read, but I don't want to read it. I definitely feel that I've experienced that. I have actually experiencing it a little bit with The Priory of the Orange Tree, which I've started reading months ago, but I just can't get myself to continue to read it. I don't know why. It's like when I pick it up and read a couple of chapters, I really love it. But it's just there's some resistance there. So yeah, I guess the rebellion syndrome does sometimes pick up. But to be honest with you, if I feel like that, most of the time, if I feel like that, I will just put the book back on my unread shelves or unhaul it, because who has time for that? Number 8, do you keep books on your TBR until they are read, or swap the TBR around regularly? Yes, I swap the TBR around for sure. Like I said already, sometimes I will have books spill over to the next month, but usually I just start afresh each month. I kind of like it. Yeah, I mean, this year I've definitely been taking them with me throughout the months because I've just kind of been more mood reading rather than TBR reading. But yeah, I figure if I don't feel like reading a book, if I'm like, oh, should I read this book? If I'm thinking like that, oh, really, should I really read this book now? That probably means I shouldn't read it now. And I should just put it back on my shelves. 9, have you ever killed a book by having it on your TBR too long? Yes. Or on my TBR shelves, like my unread shelves, for sure. And it will be interesting now when I do get to go through my collection, especially my unread shelves, because I'm pretty sure that there are books there that when I bought them, I was like, oh yeah, this sounds, oh, I would be fine. And now I'm like, why do I have this book? So yes, I've definitely, because last year I bought so many books, way too many books. And this is one of the reasons also why I decided to go on a book buying ban for this year or until Christmas, is because I was buying so many books kind of without thought and without intention. And now I have them here on my shelves. They're taking up very precious space. And I'm like, do I want to read you? I don't want to own books that make me think, I want to own books that I'm like, yes, I want to read you. So unfortunately, I have killed, I think, quite a few books like that. Number 10, do you have a tick list for your TBR to tick off books as you read them? I do, actually. At the beginning of the year, I listed in a Word document all of my unread books, and I kind of documented like which one I have as audiobooks and which one I don't have as audiobooks, so that I can at least get through the audiobooks version or category. Like I said, because I really want to get through the books that I have bought without reading, so that I can decide whether I'm going to keep them on my permanent bookshelves in my collection or if I'm going to unhaul them. So I do have a tick list. And it's also just for me to, because I could just easily have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of unread books. And I can't do that given the fact that I live in 40 square meters, which is, 430 square feet? It's tiny. My apartment is tiny. So I don't want it to be claustrophobically full of books. I love the look of wall-to-wall books, but the room then has to be big enough for it not to be claustrophobic, right? So I do have a tick list, and I'm kind of vaguely have the goal of no more than 50 unread books on my shelves before I can buy new books. It's not a fixed goal, but I think that's kind of manageable. I can see myself reading all of the 50 books in a year, given that I read usually over 100 books a year. having 50 books that I kind of have to read means that I have other 50 books that I can just mood read or whatever. So, or buy new and, stuff like that. So I like having the tick list because it helps me to stay a little bit within sane parameters of my book collection, basically. If I had a castle or chateau in France, it would not be an issue and I would not have a tick list. I could just fill it with books. But unfortunately, I am just a poor little woman in Iceland and I do not have space. Prompt number 11. What one change do you think would help your TBR be more fun? I think, firstly, I would love to do like a prompt TBR jar, like I said. And also, I've already decided that for next year, I want to take part in like some of these like bingos where people have like reading prompts. I already know that I want to take part in Ellen Made Book Club's diversity bingo. There is the Historathon, year-long Historathon reading event. And there are other bingos and stuff like that that I think it would be really fun to take part in. I think that would kind of gamify my TBR a little bit. I think that could be really fun. So yeah, that's something that I see myself doing in the future for sure. And then final conclusion, prompt number 12, TBRs, fun or not? Yes, I think they are really fun. I really love them. And I've been doing them like way before I started to do booktube. I mean, they were mostly in my head. Like I didn't write them down necessarily, but I had them like, I always had 2 or 3 books planned in like before, while I was still reading one book. I already knew the next couple of 2 or 3 or even more books in advance that I wanted to read. So I feel that I've always had a TBR of sorts, but I love them. And I love making those videos. I love watching those videos. I have nothing against TBRs or pilot possibilities. They are just fantastic. I'm not gonna tag anyone. If you haven't done this video, please consider yourself tagged and let me know if you did it or if you've done the video. Let me know as well, and let me know, do you do TBRs? If you're not doing booktube, do you have some sort of a reading TBR list thingy that you use, or are you just completely kind of mood reading or just going with the flow? I would love to know. Thank you for watching and I will see you in my next one. Bye!